Welcome to the Triathlon Nutrition Academy podcast, the show designed to serve you up evidence-based sports nutrition advice from the experts. Hi, I'm your host Taryn, accredited practicing dietitian, advanced sports dietitian, and founder of Dietitian Approved. Listen as I break down the latest evidence to give you practical, easy to digest strategies to train hard, recover faster, and perform at your best. You have so much potential, and I want to help you unlock that with the power of nutrition. Let's get into it. It's the Easter long weekend, and what better time to talk about chocolate and sports performance? But before we do, if you've got a little bit of time over the weekend, I want you to go and grab my triathlon nutrition checklist. It's a 50-step checklist to triathlon nutrition mastery. So go and get that for free. It's at dietitianapproved.com/checklist and see how you're going with your triathlon nutrition. Have you got a fair bit of room for improvement, or are you close to mastery? Spend your downtime this weekend seeing where you sit in the scheme of triathlon nutrition. All right, let's get into it. You wouldn't expect me to be talking about chocolate on a triathlon nutrition podcast, but hey, here we are. I actually wrote a blog on this topic back in 2016 because a paper came out in 2015 exploring the idea of chocolate and performance. So I want to give it a bit of a resurgence because you probably haven't read it. It's in the deep archives on my website. But I think we can all agree that chocolate is pretty delicious. I don't know many people that don't like chocolate. And while it's high in calories and sugar, dark chocolate in particular also contains a number of beneficial compounds that may have a positive effect on exercise performance. One of the primary compounds found in chocolate is cocoa, and cocoa is rich in a group of compounds called Flavanols, which have been shown to have a number of potential health benefits, including improving our blood flow, which improves our cardiovascular function. It's rich in antioxidants, which helps to reduce inflammation after exercise. It can help improve insulin sensitivity and improve cognitive function, so our brain function. But side note, while cocoa is rich in flavanols, so too are fruits and vegetables, right? Just throwing that out there. So I'm not suggesting you eat chocolate to get flavanols. If that's what you just heard, that's not what I said. But there's been several studies that have investigated the effects of chocolate consumption on performance. And the one study that I want to talk about today was published in 2015 in the Journal of the International Society of Sports Nutrition. And they found that consuming dark chocolate for 14 days improved cyclist performance time trial. Like win. So it was a group of 9 moderately trained cyclists, so not elite level cyclists. We're talking about sort of age group athletes here. They were put through their paces in the lab, and their baseline VO2 max was measured before completing a 20-minute ride at 80% of their gas exchange threshold, followed by a 2-minute all-out time trial. Balls to the walls, full gas. In a crossover design, they then consumed 40 grams of either the flavanol-rich dark chocolate or flavanol-deficient white chocolate for 2 weeks before repeating the exercise testing again. So after a 7-day washout period where they don't do anything, they then crossed over to the other arm, so either white or dark, and then repeated 14 days of the chocolate supplementation, so white or dark, and then repeated the testing again. Are you with me? So what did they find? The researchers found that dark chocolate consumption resulted in a 17% increase in the distance covered in that 2-minute time trial compared to baseline. And that was about 300 meters, and a 13% increase compared to the white chocolate trial of about 200 meters difference. The dark chocolate supplementation also increased their gas exchange threshold by 21% from baseline and was 11% higher compared to white chocolate. Now, there was no difference between the groups in the 20-minute moderate intensity cycle, their heart rate, blood pressure, or blood lactate. So it seems that the dark chocolate, or the flavanols, seem to act in a similar way to beetroot juice, but through different mechanisms. Now, beetroot juice is high in nitrates, which convert to nitric oxide in the body, and that helps to reduce the oxygen cost of exercise when it's submaximal. If you want to dive a bit deeper into nitrate and beetroot juice, I have written a blog on this topic as well. I'll link it in the show notes if you do want to read about that. So the flavanols found in dark chocolate appear to increase nitric oxide bioavailability. Are you still with me? So let's put our critical thinking hats on for a minute. And I want to talk you through some of the things that I think about when I read a study like this, and then how to apply that practically. Because that's my superpower, trying to translate deep science into something that's practical and useful that you can understand and implement. So a couple of things. You can't effectively blind the cyclists in this trial to what arm of the research they're in. Obviously, they're going to be able to tell if they're being supplemented with a white chocolate versus a dark. So maybe there's a placebo effect. If they're thinking that dark chocolate is going to enhance their performance, there is something called the placebo effect where you think you're going to do better and so therefore you do better. It was also a very small sample size, like N equals 9 people. That is a very small study. And so it would be really hard to extrapolate those results to a wider population. The cyclists were regular punters. Yes, they had a healthy weight range. Their BMI was 23.75 to 24.55. So they're far from elite athletes with a VO2 max values that are only sort of 41.9 plus or minus 5.4 mils per kilo per minute. So to put that into context, a typical elite cyclist VO2 max would roughly sit somewhere around 80 to 90 mils per kilo per minute. So double that. If you dive into the methods, their diet was controlled in the 24 hours preceding the exercise testing. And that's it. So there's lots of confounding food choices that could have actually affected the results, like nitrate concentration or carbohydrate quality of the diet or caffeine or anything like that. Dark chocolate also has a small amount of caffeine. And we know that caffeine is a very well-established performance-enhancing supplement. And so maybe the effects are actually because of the caffeine and not necessarily the flavanols. And on that, the flavanol concentration of the chocolate was never specifically tested. So we can't draw solid conclusions to say that that results was based on the flavanol explicitly. So don't take clickbaity headlines as evidence that something is good for us without actually diving into the nitty-gritty of what the paper is and how they did it. So the study, which is a pretty cool study, honestly, it's only small, but it definitely shows a bit of merit, and I would suggest warrants some further research in that area. Anyone put their hand up for doing some chocolate and time trial research? And, at the end of the day, what harm can come from consuming 40 grams of dark chocolate each day, right? Yes, it's worth noting that chocolate is high in calories, it's high in sugar, it's high in fats, and it doesn't have a lot of nutritional value. So I'm not suggesting you start adding it as a performance-enhancing supplement. That's not what I'm saying, even if it is maybe what you're hearing. But there's no reason why you couldn't include maybe 40 grams a day. And that is 40 grams is only about 2 or 3 squares. It's not a couple of rows. It's not a whole block. It's just a square or two. So small portions, and we're looking for flavanol-rich chocolate, so the dark chocolate varieties, because not all chocolate is created equal. Have a look at the packet next time you buy your regular chocolate. I'm not saying start, but when you buy your regular chocolate, have a look and choose something that is at least 70% cocoa solids to ensure you're getting that highest concentration of flavanols. So move over coconut oil. We don't like you. Beetroot dark chocolate is where it's at. You heard it here first. If anyone starts that and creates that as a performance-enhancing supplement, I'm claiming royalties. If you want to dive into that paper, I'll link it in the show notes so you can read all of the details. But have a great Easter long weekend. Eat some chocolate. Just do it mindfully. And if you have the choice, the darker the better. Thanks for joining me for this episode of the Triathlon Nutrition Academy podcast. I would love to hear from you. If you have any questions or want to share with me what you've learnt, email me at podcast@dietitianapproved.com.
You can also spread the word by leaving me a review and taking a screenshot of you listening to the show. Don't forget to tag me on social media at dietitian.approved so I can give you a shout out too. If you want to learn more about what we do, head to dietitianapproved.com. And if you want to learn more about the Triathlon Nutrition Academy program, head to dietitianapproved.com/academy. Thanks for joining me, and I look forward to helping you smash it in the fourth leg. Nutrition!